Homelessness is really getting out of hand. It's just getting worse and worse. And if you're in a big city, of course, you know that better than probably anyone else who's not living in New York or Chicago or LA or any of those other major metropolitan areas. These tent cities that are springing up like crazy. And I know they try to combat them occasionally. They try to get rid of them, then they just spring right back up again. And there's places, especially like in LA, they go on for miles and miles. I know Philadelphia, I think, is another one where it's getting real bad, especially with the drug use. And I mean, I just looked this up from 2003. There's been an 18% increase in homelessness. Blow that up a little bit. It's gone up 18% since 2023. And let me read the whole thing. This figure, derived from points in time counts, includes both sheltered and unsheltered individuals and reflects an 18% increase from 2023. And as of January 2024, so this information, it's over a year old, but 771,480 people are experiencing homelessness in the US. And as inflation keeps getting worse and the job numbers, I mean, they say that the jobs are growing in the US, but when you look up people on social media, TikTok, Facebook, even on YouTube, I mean, there's people that put out videos, and there's people, especially on YouTube, they put up compilations of videos that they collect from around social media from people who are just they can't find a job anywhere, or they're already experiencing homelessness. They're living in their car or whatnot. And I mean, the government says that the jobs are getting better, but everything that I'm hearing about, that's just not the case. It's just harder and harder to find a job. And there's a lot of people who are saying that even if you hate your job, just keep it. If you have a job right now, just keep it, because you don't want to be out here looking for one, because none of us can find one. We're even trying to use tools like AI to try to help us find jobs, which is becoming an enormous problem for employers, because every time they post a job, they're getting inundated with hundreds, if not thousands, of applicants who are pretending to be real people, but they're actually not. It's just an AI post on behalf of somebody looking for a job. So yeah, apparently it's really difficult. Plus, when you add 20 or 21 million illegal immigrants into the country, most of whom are adults and probably seeking work, they're trying to find some way to earn money. You throw them into the mix. Now you can see why the unemployment rate is really low, but yet you have countless people online complaining about not being able to find a job no matter how hard they look. So, I mean, that's at least how I can try to explain it, but it's only getting worse, not just the jobs issue, but the inflation. It's still, I know it's not as out of control as it was a year or two ago, but still the prices are not coming down, almost not at all. And, groceries across the board are basically double of what they were just 5 years ago. Of course, wages aren't keeping up with that. And like the average house right now is over $400,000 on average in the US. The average motor vehicle is like $50,000 right now. I mean, everything is just insanely expensive, and people can't keep up with it. People are maxing out their credit cards, and when they can't max anything out, can't take out a home equity loan, they've already tapped out their 401ks, they've already drained out their savings, they've got nowhere to pull money from. Then that's when things like foreclosures start happening, and things just keep getting worse from there. I mean, I'm honestly surprised that the jobs market hasn't taken a massive hit just from inflation alone, because people just, if people don't have money to spend, then the entertainment sector takes a massive hit. The food service, the service industry in general. I mean, like once those industries start taking a big hit and they start losing massive amounts of money, that's when they lay off people, and that whole domino effect starts to occur. And I mean, that might drive down the prices of like houses and motor vehicles, for instance, but that's not really going to help anybody. And the homeless numbers are just going to keep skyrocketing, probably, because you have a lot of people in places like LA who they do have a full time job and they could technically afford to rent something or live somewhere, but they just opt to just sleep in their car because, why spend $3,000 a month on rent when I can just sleep in my car and just pocket that cash? I mean, 3 grand. I mean, that's like 30, yeah, that's about $36,000 a year. I mean, would you sleep in your car for a year for 36 grand? I mean, most people probably wouldn't, but there are a lot of people, especially younger folks, who really don't seem to have much of a problem with it, or at least just muscling it out for a year and get a gym membership, take your shower there. And, like they've got all these life hacks with how to live homeless, but still work full time. So you can still dress professionally and you can, keep up with your hygiene and all that stuff and still manage to save a sizable amount of money. I mean, I am sure that there's people out there who are living in their cars right now, saving up to put a down payment on a house. I'm sure that's happening out there. So with regard to this number, I mean, I'm assuming that it's factoring in people like that. So when you picture a homeless person living on a park bench or living in one of the tent cities, you would think that this number would almost fully represent that type of person, but it probably also includes people who are living in their car and they work full time. So there's that. But I did find this video on YouTube. It's America's Homeless Hell, Worse Than You Think, Homeless in America. And I figured I'd give this a go and see what this is all about. It's on Global Homeless News. I'll give that a sub here. And actually, I'm going to crank this up because I don't think it's very loud. Hopefully, it's not too loud. Let me actually turn it down a little bit. It's hard for me to tell. I didn't actually check. Yeah, the drug use is just crazy, too. I think the people that are all zombied out, I think that's the drug trank, isn't it? I think it's called trank. It's like a mixture of just different substances, but apparently it turns you into a barely functioning zombie. It's a horror show, man. It's not good.
Roll. Yet beneath the neon, a brutal reality begs to be seen. Welcome to Global Homeless News, the show that drags hidden streets into the spotlight.
Good grief,
Imagine
man. Look
standing
at
on a downtown rooftop at midnight. Office towers glitter like diamonds, but at the curb a mother tucks her kids under a threadbare blanket. That gut punch contrast drives our journey tonight. We will march block by block through urban corridors where triumph hugs tragedy. Every skyline we film hums with promise.
And by the way, this was 2 weeks ago. So here, before I continue, let me just check the description. I was hoping that they would put roughly the time frame at which they filmed this, but it doesn't look like they are. But it was posted May 26th of this year, so I guess I can just be safe to assume that most of this footage was probably filmed either this year or maybe even as early as last year, perhaps. So this is a look into the more recent situation with homelessness in America.
Every alley echoes with a hush of forgotten dreams. Before we step deeper, hit like, comment, and smash subscribe. Your click fuels the investigations.
Yeah, those 10 cities have gotten out of hand.
You never watch. Every news supporter turns a whisper into a roar, a cityscape of contrasts. Across the United States, glass giants pierce the clouds while cardboard shelters crowd the sidewalks. Visitors photograph shimmering boulevards, yet the lenses often crop out the people sleeping 2 feet away. Why do some neighborhoods overflow with rooftop pools while others run dry?
Right, like these luxury buildings and all that.
This riddle anchors our expedition because homelessness is not random. It sprouts from the concrete of unequal growth. The broader crisis, homelessness in America, is a many-headed storm. Skyrocketing rents gulp entire paychecks. Wages remain frozen in time. And healthcare bills gut savings in seconds.
We're rapidly becoming a two-class society. The rich and the poor, the middle class is absolutely getting eviscerated. It's evaporating. We're all just, and you know what? This whole $15 minimum wage, $20 minimum wage, $30 minimum wage, that's only going to accelerate that. Because if they up the minimum wage in a city to, let's say, $30 an hour, that means that if you're currently making between $15 and $30 an hour right now, then you're going to be busted all the way down to bare minimum wage. Because let's say that the minimum wage where you live is $15 an hour, and right now you're making $25 an hour. Well, if they up it to $30 an hour, yeah, you get a $5 raise, but you're going to be bare minimum wage. You might get a benefit for it or from it for about a year, but once the economics of that catches up, you're going to find yourself in the very bare minimum class, dirt poor minimum wage. And you might think, well, no, my company, they'll give me an extra $10 because I'm making $10 above minimum wage now. So of course it'll put me $10. So my company will pay me $40 an hour now. No, it's not going to work that way. It won't work that way. because you're already working for the company, and it's just simply not going to happen that way. You're going to get a massive number of people who are going to find themselves not ascending the financial ladder. You're going to find everybody getting busted down to minimum wage across the board if that were to happen, which it's already happening. Like in Florida, it was I think in 2020 where they passed the $15 minimum wage bullshit. So it's in increments. Every year the Florida minimum wage increases by another dollar, and it's not good. I mean, we're already seeing negative signs of that, and it's hard to see it directly because of the inflation issue, but it's definitely having a pretty bad effect on our economy. But that's happening in other major cities around the country too.
The safety
It's
net
not good.
tears. Families tumble straight onto the street.
Yep, middle
These
class
stories
is
are not cold
disappearing.
data. They're alarms. Each tent under a freeway shouts that our system missed a chance to help someone survive.
And this is scary, man.
But
Like
what happened next will jolt
probably half of
even
adults in
seasoned
our country are
travelers.
probably a month away
Communities
from
refuse
this
to give up.
circumstance.
Across the nation,
Paycheck to paycheck, man.
activists, nurses, pastors, and city planners scramble to patch holes in housing policy before the storm swallows more lives. New York City. Manhattan's skyline crowns
That's LA.
global finance. Yet just a subway ride away, hidden encampments cluster under bridges. Average monthly rent crossed $4,000 this year, an eye-watering figure that shoves low-income tenants toward eviction. Brooklyn's indie coffee shops and art studios glow with creativity, but longtime families
the
watch
elites are just
property
fine.
taxes shoot upward like rockets. Eviction filings jumped, turning vibrant blocks into chessboards where only the wealthy move freely. The Bronx
Yep.
carries a legendary hip-hop heartbeat and a lineage of baseball glory. Still, 1 in 5 residents spends over half their income on housing. Local charities hustle to
grief, man,
stretch
that's
food
so messed
pantries
up.
and after-school programs. While
I mean, look, I thought there were programs in place. Well, I guess it varies depending on the company, but there's a lot of these companies that own apartment complexes and whatnot. Like you have to earn it's something like 3 times more your rent, or else they won't rent to you. So there's a lot of policies that have been in place for years where you either can't rent at this place or you can't get a mortgage from a bank if you make at least a certain percentage more than what your mortgage or your rent's going to be. Like if your rent is more than 30%, just pulling that number out of the air, if it's over 30% of your gross monthly income, then they won't rent to you. So I don't know how these people are getting by with being able to find a place where it's gobbling up 50% of their entire income on just rent alone. But maybe it's different in a place like New York where you're shelling out $4,000 a month. I mean, if you make $8,000 a month, I mean that's a hell of a good salary, at least across the rest of the country for the most part.
waiting lists for subsidized apartments crawl on for years. Los Angeles, a tale of two realities.
That's
Flip on
not
Hollywood
Los
lights,
Angeles.
and you see red carpets, designer gowns, and
But I
blockbuster
get it.
deals. Drag the camera 3 streets east, and Skid Row unfolds. More than 5,000 unhoused men and
Now
women
that could be
packed
LA.
in 50 miserable city blocks. Addiction clinics, mental health tents, and pop-up soup lines form an ad hoc city inside a city. Each dawn, volunteers sweep away trash, yet the human tragedy lingers like exhaust.
Yeah,
Dri-
like these cities relaxing their drug policies, it drove a lot of this nightmare where you see just people walking around like zombies everywhere. I mean, what was it? The state of either Oregon or Washington, if not maybe both of them. I think it was Oregon. They completely legalized drugs, and apparently they're rolling that back now, where it's not the case anymore. But that's what it leads to. It leads to just this massive swamp of just degeneracy, where people just they're just free to get locked into this horrific drug addiction, which only leads to more crime because it doesn't mean drugs are cheap. Drugs are still going to be expensive, and if you legalize it, it's only going to fuel their habit even further. Not all, but a lot of them it will, and it's only going to drive them to commit more crimes so they can just keep up with their habit. And frankly, I'm not pro-war or anything like that, but with all of the fentanyl that China has unleashed into our country, killing almost 100,000 people a year, I mean, something really needs to be done against China, like at least as far as consequences go. I don't know if we should just cut them off completely financially, if that's even possible. I know the whole trade war thing happened, 150% tariffs and everything. I'm actually kind of pissed that it didn't stay that way. Like they're working out some deal or whatever the hell they're doing. But the whole fentanyl thing and how it just ravaged, especially with homelessness. I mean, it's just adding fuel to the fire and it's just making it just, it's just compounding it, making it way
West of
worse
Venice Beach.
than it otherwise
Surfboards
would be
slice
without
foamy
it.
waves while tourists buy neon hats. But rows of tents line the boardwalk.
But of course, China, they
Skateboarders
want to
move past
destroy the
baby
U.S.
strollers parked outside.
They do. They want to be number one.
Improvised shelters made of tarps.
And we're not doing
Here
jack
are
all about it.
Freedom and financial freefall share the same zip code. Beverly Hills floats nearby, dripping opulence, making the inequality scream louder. How can a place that sells $8 bottled water still allow children to sleep on asphalt?
Yep.
Las
That's a
Vegas,
Democrat city for you.
Fremont Street's
That's
hidden
progressivism.
states, slot machines,
Progressing us
sing
into
inside
socialism,
Fremont
communism,
Street casinos, promising
totalitarianism.
instant riches. Step
This is
outside
what you get.
rear exits after midnight, and the jackpot
Small
illusion
number of
fades
elites,
fast.
everybody else dirt poor.
Unemployment spikes, and a transient workforce leave many one paycheck
Just in
from
case
disaster.
you're watching this a few
When
years
rent
from now and you're wondering,
rises,
what the hell happened?
Or seasonal
Well,
job ends.
politics happen.
Motels fill up.
Progressivism
then
happened.
Sidewalks fill up. Local nonprofits run hygiene stations in vacant lots and park converted buses to hand out medical care. Their mantra, what happens in Vegas should not include dying on the pavement, rings out every night. Behind every statistic is a face. An Iraq veteran wrestling nightmares on a plastic bench.
Yeah,
A
that's
laid-off
deplorable
caterer
that, that
scrolling
our
job
veterans are
apps through a
homeless.
cracked phone
That
while
absolutely
clutching
blows
a
my
toddler.
mind.
A teenager hiding textbooks in a shopping cart, so classmates never learn she sleeps under a highway.
Especially
Yet
with all the
sparks of
illegal immigrants that we're
resilience
giving
blaze
government
bright.
money to. I
Community
mean, that
gardens
should piss
sprout
off
in
everybody.
abandoned lots, giving nutritious produce to shelters. Tiny home villages rise on unused municipal land, offering doors that lock for the first time in years. But the cliffhanger looms. Will our cities back these grassroots
Yikes,
victories? Or will new luxury towers cast longer shadows than ever?
Oh,
What
they
must
probably
change? Affordable
In the
housing
big blue cities,
mandates
they will.
must gain teeth. Wages must pace living costs, and mental health outreach must deploy where the crisis lives, street level. Without bold action, tomorrow's skyline tours will be darker, not brighter.
Yep.
Glimmers of hope. In New York, a converted
Yeah, it's gonna be like Blade Runner. I mean, look, like Hollywood, they've been dropping these like nuggets of foreshadowing what they want our country to look like. I'm not to get conspiratorial or anything, but I think Hollywood, they've got a vision as to what they believe that the country either will look like or should look like. And I don't know if they're in cahoots with like the CIA or anything like that, just trying to do some big mega psyop against us or anything. But I mean, if you look at all the movies that they've come out with that are set in the future that take place anywhere in America, they're never lovely. They're never amazing. It's always dystopic and it's always nightmarish and it's like a few of the elites and like a billion like dirt poor people. Like, I mean, the only movie that I can really think of offhand that wasn't like that was The Fifth Element, where like everybody seemed to be getting by okay. It was all like colorful and the future was, I mean, it didn't look great. It was like cram packed, hundreds of billions of people or whatever, but still, I mean, I think that message, at least to me, has been pretty clear that comes out of Hollywood, that the future that they envisioned for all of us, they just want everybody to be dirt poor and they just want a few elites to have literally everything.
hotel
That's,
on Times
that's the road we're
Square
heading down,
now
it
shelters
seems.
200 families, giving kids a real bed while parents hunt for work. In Los Angeles, mobile laundry circles Skid Row, restoring a simple dignity many thought lost. And in Las Vegas,
Yeah,
a
Skid Row's
former
been
parking
bad
garage
forever.
transformed into a clinic now treats
I can only imagine
hundreds
how
each
more
week
populated it
without
is now.
charging a cent. These pilot projects prove that imagination, not just money, turns crisis into comeback stories. But they need voters, donors, and viewers like you to keep the lights on. Literally. Stay
Yeah.
tuned, because the battle for humane cities is far from over, and you deserve to witness every twist. Capitol Hill once roared with indie rock and rainbow-painted sidewalks.
Yeah.
Yet rent has exploded so fast that artists now sleep in panel vans on side streets. What
Yep,
began
ain't
as a
that ironic?
playground for edgy thinkers has morphed into a tight fist of economic pressure, and every empty storefront feels
Oh, but
like
blame
a
Trump.
warning
It's all his
flare.
fault.
Still, neighbors refuse to surrender. Pop-up food banks, rooftop gardens, and buddy-up co-ops spring to life, proving that everyday people can repossess a block, repaint a wall, and rekindle hope even while City Hall drags its feet.
Yep, that's another big problem. We've lost our sense of community. We've lost our sense of being a tight-knit group of people in a local area. And I mean, a lot of that is our own fault, but I mean, too many people, they want to rely on the federal government or even the state government, where if you need a helping hand, once upon a time, people used to reach out to like their church or their community center or whatever it might be. And I know that those programs still exist today, like local food banks, and your everyday person can go and just donate a bunch of food over there just to do the right thing or whatnot. But I mean, yeah, we've really lost our way when it comes to community, and the dependence on government has just gotten really out of control.
But another jaw-dropper waits under the desert sun. Phoenix keeps grabbing headlines for job growth, yet apartment prices sprint faster than paychecks, leaving thousands stranded at the edge of new subdivisions that glow with promise but whisper neglect. Local charities race to
Well, they're
plug
not
this
selling those
widening
out
crack,
either.
rolling out mobile clinics and zero-interest rent deposits so newcomers can land on firmer ground. The clash between marble columns and sleeping bags hits hardest inside Philadelphia's 30th Street station. Travelers snap photos of grand ceilings, yet in shadowed corners, unhoused citizens huddle for warmth, turning a historic landmark into an urgent classroom on civic responsibility. Advocates
Damn, man.
now lobby to fill unused offices with social workers and build shower stalls next to ticket booths, all in a bid to stitch dignity back into those polished halls. Next comes San Francisco's Tenderloin, a 4-block lesson in wealth versus want. Towering tech
Yeah, I'm
campuses
sure
rise
it's really
only
bad in
minutes
San
away,
Francisco.
but
They've
here
got that
cracked
poop app.
sidewalks host tents, needles, and broken dreams, each one a neon sign flashing systemic failure. Nonprofits fight back with safe sleep programs, art pop-ups, and tiny home clusters, aiming to restore neighborhood pride one lit window at a time. Why does this crisis tighten year after year? The chief villain is a brutal shortage of homes regular earners can afford. When a
Yep,
single bedroom swallows
I agree.
two-thirds of a paycheck, families triple up, then slip into cars, then land on asphalt. The slide is quick, the climb back brutal. Money worries stretch deeper than rent alone. Pay
Yeah, and
raises
there's probably places where you sleep in your car and the cops end up towing your car away because you're not allowed to sleep here. You're breaking the law. So now that your car is technically a crime scene, we're just gonna take your vehicle away from you, and now you're stuck on literally you're sleeping on the
crawl
streets.
while food, fuel, and health fees leap, squeezing wallets until something snaps. That gap builds stress that torpedoes stability, trapping hard workers in a maze where every wrong move ends on the street. Safety nets sag under runaway demand. Shelters overflow.
But don't pay attention to this.
Aid
Pay attention to
offices lose
politics. Pay
funding,
attention to current
and paperwork
events. Keep your
tangles
eyes
until
glued to
clock runs
CNN.
out,
Listen to
letting
what they tell
thousands
you.
fall through gaping holes. When relief is timed out or capped,
Because they
despair
try
circles
really hard
back,
to sweep all this under
turning
the rug.
short-term help into a revolving door. Mental health and addiction twist the
You don't hear
spiral
anything
even
about
tighter.
homelessness on the news.
Many unhoused neighbors battle untreated illness made worse by sleepless nights and constant danger. Without clinics that travel to the sidewalk, the loop of
Yeah,
crisis, relapse,
almost a
and
million
street life spins
Americans are homeless.
forever. Personal trauma can drop
Unbelievable.
someone onto the pavement overnight. Domestic violence, a family split,
And how
or
many
sudden
illegal
job loss
immigrants got
and
government
shattered support
assistance in the last
circles,
year? I
leaving
bet it was
people
over a
island
million.
in plain sight. Isolation then
How you like
breeds
them apples?
hopelessness,
A
making
lot of
each
these
step
homeless,
back
they've
toward
they've
normal
paid into
life
taxes
feel
for
like
years,
climbing glass. But what happens next could flip the script in bold style.
or paid their taxes,
Forward-thinking
paid into
cities are
government
testing
programs,
daring
Social
fixes
Security
that
and
link
whatnot.
instant shelter to long-haul stability. One shining model hands out keys first and paperwork later, proving that a locked door and a shower can calm panic long enough for job training, therapy, and childcare to take root. Rundown hotels turn into micro apartments.
And these
Shipping
people that are just zombied out, what are they gonna do if somebody walks up and just, I don't know, steals their shoes or empties out their pockets while they're just slumped over, just completely just out of it? There's nothing they can do about it. I mean, that's always blown my mind too,
Containers
on
become
just how
stacked
vulnerable they
villages,
are.
and vacant malls transform into resource hubs
I mean, I
buzzing
know a
with
lot of
nurses,
homeless, like, they look out for each
barbers,
other.
and resume coaches.
I've
Every
seen a lot of
converted
stuff on that,
space
but
sends the same thunderous
there's a lot of bad
message.
actors out there
People
too.
thrive when roofs come first. These pilot victories crackle with possibility. Yet they need voters, donors, and city councils to widen the blueprint fast. Failure to act means tomorrow's skylines will glitter brighter while sidewalks grow colder, a trade nobody should accept. You won't believe how fast lives can turn around with one simple change. Give people a home first. The Housing First model flips the old system on its head. Instead of requiring people to fix their problems before getting a roof over their heads, this approach starts by giving them safe, permanent housing. And the results? Stunning. It lowers emergency calls, cuts jail time, and rebuilds community trust,
Yeah, there you
all
go.
while helping people finally feel human again. Once someone has a front door that locks, they can focus on therapy, job training, and healing. Because survival mode no longer eats up every minute. Expanding affordable housing, a
I
real
mean, you're not going to save everybody. There are a sizable amount of homeless people who they choose and they want to be homeless. I mean, especially if somebody's homeless for an extended period of time, like they'll get a sense of claustrophobia where they've slept outside for so long. When you put them up in like a halfway house or in a room or something, they feel like they're very cramped and they get a lot of anxiety from that. Like they just have a more sense of freedom just living outdoors, which isn't healthy for anybody, especially, in our society. But still, there's a lot of people out there who they just want to be homeless. And, I don't really know what you do for them, but there's a lot, probably the majority of those who are homeless really don't want to be in that circumstance. And there's clearly not nearly enough being done about it.
fix. Without affordable housing, the crisis will never end. Cities must go
Yeah, it's only
beyond
gonna get
building new
worse.
homes. We need to fix up the
Housing
empty
has
ones
got
too,
to come down.
turning broken buildings into cozy apartments that real families can afford. Public-private teamwork makes this
And
possible.
it's got to come down by
Smart
like half
financing
or
plans
more.
and innovative reuse of old properties can shrink the gap between supply and demand. And the payoff: neighborhoods that once felt forgotten become alive again, with gardens, schools, and pride replacing boarded-up windows. Better health starts at home. Here's the hard truth: you can't fight addiction or mental illness while sleeping on concrete. That's why pairing housing with healthcare access is crucial. Communities are now linking up shelters with clinics, giving people real chances to recover. Mobile health vans, telemedicine, and pop-up clinics bring help directly to those in need. No long waits, no insurance battles, just care. This approach doesn't just heal individuals. It improves the whole city by lowering ER visits and calming community tensions. Job training equals real independence. Once someone has a place to stay and their health on track, they're ready to work. But without the right skills, doors stay closed. That's where targeted job training changes everything, from trade schools to
Yeah,
resume
that's helpful.
help and mentorship programs.
Very.
Cities are investing in real-world skills that lead to real-world paychecks. And it's not just good for individuals. These programs boost local economies, fill hiring gaps, and inspire people to build something of their own, whether that's a steady job or a small business. Communities that work together win together. No city ever solved homelessness from behind a desk. Real change comes when neighbors unite. Local churches, food banks, community groups.
I mean, that
They're already
trash
doing
is
the
everywhere,
work.
man.
Now imagine if government agencies, schools, and businesses joined in with resources, data, and manpower. Cross-sector partnerships can fill cracks that no single group can handle alone. And when residents speak up in community meetings or hands-on workshops, it sparks powerful changes rooted in real life, not policy papers. This kind of teamwork doesn't just fix broken systems. It builds connection, courage, and a shared mission. Time to change the rules. Band-Aid fixes won't cut it. We need bold policies that tackle the root of the crisis. Income inequality, broken public services, and outdated zoning laws. Policymakers must stop treating homelessness like a short-term glitch. It's a structural problem. And the solution starts with
Yeah, good
laws
luck
that
getting
treat
politicians
housing
to
as a
fix
human right.
homelessness. It's never
Strategic
going to happen.
spending, local
They just
feedback,
want to throw
and
cash at
political
it, and that's
backbone
never
can
the
turn
answer.
crumbling streets into safe,
I mean, how many
inclusive
billions of
spaces.
dollars has
By
California spent on it?
prioritizing fairness,
And most of that money
listening
is
to those
completely
who've
unaccounted
lived the
for.
struggle, and making data-driven decisions, cities can lay the foundation for change that lasts. Thinking bigger than just fixing it. The future of urban renewal depends on imagination and heart. We must stop asking only, how do we manage homelessness? And start asking,
Well,
how do we
not by
rebuild
begging the
community
government for money.
everyone? New ideas are blooming across the country, and
Because a
technology
lot of that money ends up in the hands of NGOs and nonprofits and activists, and they pay each other big six-figure salaries, but how much of it actually goes to the root cause or the root of the problem that they're supposed to be working for? It's probably a very tiny percentage. Most of it's just going into what they call overhead, which is basically paying a whole bunch of their best friends and people they rub shoulders with, and they go work for some nonprofit who helps with homelessness, and some Joe Schmo who's earning like $300,000 a year doing not really a whole lot of anything.
is playing a
Not saying that's
powerful
the
role.
case for all
Cities are
homelessness
now using data
programs or anything.
analytics
I'm just
to
saying
track
that
homelessness trends, predict
dumping
where help is
billions of
needed
dollars in from the
most,
government,
and
that
shift
doesn't really
resources
solve the
quickly.
problem.
Apps now connect unhoused people with food, beds, and health services in real time. Some smart cities even use AI to track available shelter spots every hour. These tools don't just improve efficiency. They make cities more compassionate,
Well, that's going to
more
increase
responsive,
demand, though.
and more ready for whatever comes next. And as these platforms grow, so does our ability.
Because, a lot of the problem that could create are people who are just barely surviving with the rent that they're paying right now, to the point where they would be willing to go stay in something like I don't know about a full-blown homeless shelter sleeping on a cot, but a lot of these affordable housing, people are people are looking for those opportunities who are not homeless now, but they're on the verge. I mean, like, they're paying double the rent that they were just a few years ago, and they are not able to survive. Like, they are only a few months from maxing out every line of credit they can possibly get their hands on. So you're going to see a lot of people who are on the verge of becoming homeless who are going to be using those AI tools and other tools to try to find these affordable housing areas, in addition to people who are homeless. And the people who are currently renting somewhere, I mean, yeah, they might be disqualified from a lot of those programs just because they're simply not homeless, but I mean, you're still going to get them at least trying to get into a place like that. And a lot of them, they'll probably just end up lying. They'll say, "Well, no, I'm in between homes right now, or I'm getting evicted, or whatever the case might be." And maybe they're not quite there yet, but they're just trying to get ahead of that inevitable homelessness, sleeping on the street. And that's also feeding into the problem too,
To
with
act
just not having
fast,
enough places.
support better, and give every resident, housed or unhoused, a real chance at stability. Imagine if the people who live in a neighborhood were the ones who gotta fix it. That's exactly what's happening across America right now. Community-led urban renewal is proving that change doesn't always start at City Hall. In many cities, local residents, nonprofit teams, and community leaders are joining forces to fix their own streets. From turning empty lots into gardens to launching small business incubators and affordable housing cooperatives. These grassroots
As long as they're
projects
not
are
for
giving
profit,
communities both beauty
as long
and
as they really
power.
mean it.
And the results? Stronger neighborhoods, deeper pride, and a bold sense of ownership. These local heroes aren't just making things look better.
Yep,
They're
got to
changing
get the
lives
sense of community
and
back.
proving that lasting
think that's what we're
transformation
missing the
starts at
most.
the block level. Education that breaks the cycle. One of the smartest tools
That
for
and trying to
beating
get inflation the
homelessness.
hell under control.
Education and job training.
It's almost
When
a
people
lost
gain
cause, it
real
seems.
skills, they gain real independence. Vocational programs, digital literacy workshops, and partnerships with local employers are helping people step into stable, well-paying jobs.
Good
These
grief,
opportunities don't just support individuals. They fuel local
Freaking
economies
shooting up
and
on the
break
street.
the long chain of
At least
poverty.
it looked
Even
like he was
better,
doing that.
lifelong learning keeps people sharp in a world that changes fast. It also builds confidence, creativity, and the kind of vision
I mean,
that
could you
helps
imagine
hold
like how overrun the ambulances and the fire departments must be in these areas? They're probably getting calls probably like 20 times a day for someone who's either ODing or someone who's just dead on the sidewalk because they OD'd and people are just walking over them.
communities rise,
Tragic.
teaming up for greater impact. Tackling homelessness isn't a one-agency job. It takes an all-in partnership between government, nonprofits, businesses, and universities. By pooling money, skills, and data, these cross-sector teams are building smarter systems that cover more ground and adapt quickly when needs change. In our travels, we've seen firsthand how shared efforts make the biggest difference, from shared housing to joint job centers. These united missions turn scattered efforts into one powerful movement. When barriers fall between sectors, real progress takes off. And that means lasting change for the people who need it most. A personal reflection, stories that stay with you. As I walked the bustling blocks of New York, the soulful corners of Los Angeles, and countless neighborhoods in between, one truth kept hitting me. The human spirit is unbreakable. I met people who'd lost everything, but were still showing up with hope in their eyes. I saw neighborhoods framed.
Yeah, I mean, I will say that about a lot of homeless people. A lot of them are in good spirits. They see the glass half full, despite the circumstances that they find themselves in. But anyway, I want to check and see how much. I want to see how much California has spent on homelessness lately. Homelessness spending invested $24 billion just in the last 5 years. Since 2019, they spent about $37 billion. So, how many homeless people in California? Because this is going to be the most extreme example. So, let's see. In California, 187,000 people are experiencing homelessness. In California, so let me get out my calculator here. I just want to see, just out of curiosity. And I'm going to take the lower number, 24, and divide it by how many people were there? 187? Yeah, 187,000. So they've spent, that's how much money that the state of California spent per homeless person. For each individual homeless person, the state of California has managed to spend almost $130,000 per homeless person. And again, I took the lower number. I didn't take the higher number. I took the one over the last 5 years. And last I checked, homelessness is only getting worse in California. Is that a graph of the homelessness in California? Oh, no, it's just taking me to another page. But yeah, 181. But yeah, it's ridiculous, man. Like, they can't fix the problem by spending almost $130,000 per homeless person. I mean, if you divide that by 5 years, I mean, you could just give them, 26 grand in cash and it would still come out to the same amount of money spent. I mean, $25,000 per year. I mean, that's $2,139 a month that they could have given each individual homeless person. And that would equate $24 billion over 5 years for every single homeless person in California. $2,100. I mean, it could be spent toward rent at least. It could have at least kept them off the street. But of course, there's not enough housing for everybody, which is also a problem. But that just goes to show no matter how much money they're going to spend on this homelessness issue, it's not going to fix the problem. Right now, California has more homeless people now than ever. California over 5 years. The rate of homelessness in California over 5 years. I just want to see if they're going to give me a rate 7.5% increase. Reached an all-time high by 2024 after spending $24 billion. Number of homeless people in California is at an all-time high. The state still has more than 187,000 people living on the street or in shelters. Well, that's your tax dollars at work in California. And I'm sure you could plug it into any other state where there's a large homeless population, and you're probably going to get an obscene amount of money that they've spent on it, and nothing's really being done about it. But anyway, I'll go ahead and link this video into my description, and it's on the Global Homeless News channel. So if you want to go over there and check them out, I'll just pop over there to their channel real quick just to see. Yeah, they got 33 videos, so they've got quite a few. And let's see, oh wow, they just started their channel in April of this year. So yeah, they're in the process of getting established and growing. So if you want to go over there and check them out, that was actually a pretty well put together video. Definitely, documentary style. They were pretty good with narrating it. They gave out some really good information. And I mean, how you fix it, I mean, like I've already said a couple times, I mean, it just has to get back to the community. And I mean, and plus you also have to convince, not, I don't know about convince is the right word, but you have to get people to not want to be homeless either. Of course, most of them, they don't want to be homeless. I mean, I'm sure virtually nobody wants to be homeless except for a small number of people who have been homeless for years and they just don't want to live any other way. I mean, look, some people, they choose to be homeless because it's the ultimate freedom, because you can literally go anywhere you want. I mean, of course, you probably don't have the means or the money to just hop in a car and go wherever you want, literally. But I mean, some people view it that way. They view it as just being as free as you can possibly be, not tied down by the material world in any way, shape, or form. So you're always going to have a homeless population just based on that alone. But there are a lot of people who have been victims of this rampant inflation and rent costs, and I mean, lots of other areas that are experiencing unemployment numbers, and that's only going to get worse, especially if inflation either holds steady or gets worse. Either way, it's only going to lead to worse outcomes down the road, and hopefully we can get it under control. I don't know. I don't have all the answers. I don't really have any of the answers, to be honest, but hopefully it gets better. But anyway, thanks for watching. See you later.